Hello, and I welcome you all to Global News Factory. I am your host, Vikrant. Right now, I am visiting my home state of Haryana and I'm exploring some countryside here. So, let me know if this makeshift setup is looking good, the audio quality, the video quality. Please let me know in the comment box. And let's start with today's episode. So, Trump's sanctions on the BRICS nations are not hurting them the way Washington likes to imagine. They're backfiring like a cheap Chinese firecracker. Instead of bowing down to these demands by Uncle Sam, these nations are quietly and sometimes loudly plotting an escape from the American dollar hegemony. And this is not just empty talk for TV cameras. A full blown financial rebellion is brewing now. BRICS nations and their friends see a golden chance to break free from America's money monopoly. Their weapon, their weapon is digital currencies. They are slick, they're high tech, they're sanctions proof. The e-money that Washington cannot freeze, cannot block, or cannot control. So forget tanks, forget fighter jets. The new battlefield is financial tech. The weapons of choice are central bank digital currencies or the CBDCs. Then we have crypto projects and shiny new payment networks that do not run through New York or London. So China is charging ahead with its eCNY, or you can call it e-yuan. This is not some fun app experiment. It is a geopolitical missile aimed straight at the SWIFT payment system. Beijing's goal is to make the yuan a big league currency and use it in Belt and Road trade deals. Now imagine Chinese built ports and railways paid for in e-yuan. No American money involved, no threats of sanctions, no USD. We saw Russia got slammed with sanctions so hard they began building the digital ruble as if their life depends on it. Because it kind of does. By the end of this year, Moscow plans to start doing international deals in this currency, and within the next 2 years, they want it fully up and running. So, translation, they want a money system where Washington cannot simply click a button to freeze them out. Meanwhile, BRICS as a bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and other nations are piecing together their own parallel financial universe. They're pushing more trade in local currencies and building platforms like BRICS Pay, which could become the PayPal of global south of these developing economies, only without Silicon Valley snooping. But the real nuclear project, it is called Project Ambridge. Now, this is not a sci-fi movie, it is a joint project by the central banks of, we have China, Hong Kong, Thailand, the UAE, and even the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS is there. They have built a shared digital ledger that lets countries send money across borders instantly. No middlemen, no expensive correspondent banks, and no waiting 3 days for some international clearance. What used to take days now takes seconds. Now, Swift is trying to catch up, but Ambridge is not some upgrade, it is a whole new game altogether. Now, here is the reality check. Not all BRICS countries are gung ho about a single BRICS currency. We know that, and there's a good reason for that. See, if the US dollar collapses overnight, countries that trade heavily with America will take a serious hit. India gets slammed in the media for not throwing its full weight behind the BRICS currency dream. Okay, but even China is keeping its cards close to its chest. Why? Because America is still China's biggest customer. If the dollar sinks, Beijing export empire takes a direct hit, takes a direct torpedo. But that does not mean Brics is powerless. Far from it. They're building other options as well, multiple escape routes from the USD, and they may not kill the greenback tomorrow, but they are sharpening their knives right now. And if Trump keeps swinging sanctions like this, like a drunken boxer, do not be surprised if one day Washington wakes up to find the world's money moving without it. And moving on to Ukraine now, Zelensky has officially lost the plot. The man can see his little empire collapsing like a cheap stage prop. And he is panicking so hard, he is now accusing Trump of waving the white flag to Putin. Why? Because as per Zelensky himself, Russia's demands today are exactly the same as months ago. Putin has not budged an inch, he's saying, which means the only one blinking is Trump. But hold that thought because here is what has been floating around in the press. Let's see some reports first. The Wall Street Journal says that Putin and Trump might be on the verge of a deal. Now, according to the whispers, Russia is all set, is willing to stop military action in exchange for Ukraine giving up big chunks of land. The peace plan, the so called peace plan, if you want to call it that, would have Ukraine withdrawing from all of Donetsk Oblast, all of Donetsk, leaving Russia in control of Donetsk, Luhansk, and of course Crimea, which Russia took in 2014 and never gave back. The deal, as reported, comes in two steps. Step one is that Ukraine pulls its troops out of Donetsk and freezes the front line. Then we have step two: Putin and Trump shake hands on a final peace deal and then loop in Zelensky later. Now, this could all be true, or it could be total media hot air. One thing is clear: something is cooking, some deal is on the horizon. That is exactly why Trump and Putin are meeting in Alaska on August 15. And that is exactly why Zelensky is crying like a kid. So here is Zelensky's big meltdown, and I am quoting him right now. The Russians still refuse to stop the killings, still invest in the war, with consequences that guarantee nothing except more favorable positions for Russia to resume the war. Translation: Hey Donny, Putin has not changed a thing, so why are you changing? Please keep sending me weapons, keep writing the checks, keep this war going. I have got speeches to give. Now, my message to Zelensky is this: why should Russia change its terms? Tell me, are you winning the war on the ground? Do you have the upper hand? Even Trump does not have the upper hand anymore. His sanctions on Russia, India, and China blew up in his face. And yet, you, a guy who cannot win a single battlefield without NATO babysitting, think that Putin will blink first. Seriously. Then Zelensky got even more dramatic, rejecting Trump's idea of giving up territory. He said, I'm quoting, the answer to Ukrainian territorial question is already in the constitution of Ukraine. No one will deviate from this and no one will be able to. Ukrainians will not gift their land to the occupier. This is what Zelensky said. Now, relax, Mr. Zelensky. You do not have to gift it. You are just going to lose it. At this rate, it is called surrender, not a gift. And then his grand finale, he said, I'm quoting, any agreements made without Ukraine's involvement are dead decisions and will not bring peace. Oh, please. This is Zelensky's way of saying, I dare you, Trump, to make a deal with Putin without me. Now, here is the problem in this. Nobody actually cares what Zelensky thinks anymore. The reality is Trump and Putin will likely hash out the deal, drop it on Zelensky's desk, and he will have no choice but to sign it. Sure, Europe will whine for a while, but Europe is broke and powerless. They cannot even keep their own economies afloat, let alone stop Trump's peace plan. So Europe is done, dusted. So here we are. The war is dragging, Russia is not budging, Trump is meeting Putin, and Zelensky is playing his last card, the cry and hope someone listens card. The sad part is no one is listening. And that is it for this part, this segment. Let's move forward, and it is about UAE and Russia. A few days ago, something big happened between two Brics heavyweights, and somehow the world barely noticed. UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed hopped on a plane to Moscow and met Russia's Putin. No Zoom call, no side meeting at some summit. This was a full scale, in person handshake in the Kremlin. And here is the kicker, this came just days after Trump told every country on earth to distance themselves from Russia. The UAE's response was this: nah, we are doing the exact opposite. Now, according to Emirati state media, the trip was all about strengthening their strategic partnership with a menu that featured economic ties, featured trade, investment, energy, and other areas of common interest. Translation: they are doubling down on business while Washington is yelling sanctions. The UAE is not just another Middle East player, it is a long-time close ally of the US with deep military and intelligence ties to Washington. But it is also Russia's biggest economic partner in this region. And those ties between UAE and Russia, they have been booming since the war in Ukraine began. Trade between the two countries jumped 68% in the last 3 years alone to $9 billion. Now it is all set to hit 11.5 billions, and bin Zayed is not done. He told Putin he wants to double that in the next 5 years, both in bilateral trade and with Eurasian countries. On the ground, over 4,000 Russian businesses now operate in the UAE. FDIs are growing. Washington is not thrilled about it. Some years back, the US government even labeled the UAE a country of focus for helping Russia dodge sanctions. But Abu Dhabi clearly does not care about that label. There is another layer here. Both the UAE and Russia are members of OPEC Plus, meaning they coordinate on oil output. And yes, despite the geopolitics, that coordination is alive, is well, is kicking. So in July, OPEC's output rose after an agreement within the OPEC Plus to boost production. Now, some thought this was to offset potential disruptions in Russian supplies. In reality, it was to cover shortfalls caused by Iraq cutting production after a drone attack on Kurdish oil fields. The July plan was clear. Five OPEC members, Algeria, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, agreed to increase output by 300,000 barrels per day, with some adjustments for compensation cuts by Iraq, Kuwait, and the UAE. So, bottom line is this, the UAE and Russia are not just talking, they are coordinating both in trade and in oil policy. While Washington talks about isolating Russia, one of America's closest allies is helping Russia lock in its place in the global economy. That is today's reality. And with that, let's wrap up today's show. Thank you very much for being with me. You're watching GNF.